They calling it the toilet bowl, but come on now. It's New York Jets football. I'm still excited to see my team take flight. Okay. New York Jets, New Orleans Saints. It's going down. And of course, it is my favorite day of the week. It is Third Party Thursday. So we have a special guest who is here to break down the X's and O's and talk about this matchup in a way that only we can. We are live. It is Boy Green meets Wudi.
Can you guys help us get a jet chant here? Yeah, going.
Oh.
Okay, right, yeah. Come on in. Yeah.
Okay, let's go! J-E-T-S, Jets! Let's go! J-E-T-S, Jets! Let's go!
Third Party Thursday.
Chris joining us here on the program with a capital P here on the program.
Jake Asman, come on down. How you doing, good sir?
Wow, what an intro. I mean, Boy Green is known for having the intro, but Wudi, that was unreal, man. Thanks for the kind words, son.
We are men of many names.
My favorite Austrian Jets fan right there, baby.
Boy Green
meets Wudi. Welcome to another episode of Boy Green Meets Wudi. It is your boy James Wudi, and you already know we are Wudi, rocking everywhere. My man right here, rocking his alma mater. Come on now, it is the boy who became king. Oh my God, with the beanie. Should we double beanie? I don't even know. Should we double beanie? Come on now, none other than Mr. Paul Esden Jr. in the building. And of course, come on now, it is Third Party Thursday, so it's not just us two goofballs out here talking about the fluff, right? We the two goofballs up here. No, we have somebody, a special guest. All right, we said we want to break down the X's and O's, so we need a Saints expert, and that's exactly what he is, the managing editor, lead writer of the Saints Wire. Come on now, none other than John Sigler. Come on down. How you doing, good sir?
Doing great, fellas. I wish I'd got the memo. I'd have a beanie on too, but I'm short-handed today, but that's okay. Thanks for having me again on the show.
Yes, it's an honor to have you, and we apologize about that memo.
Yeah, we got to work on that. We got to work on that, John. I'll tell you that I have a very eclectic family. We've got Jets fans, Patriot fans, Cowboy fans, but my brother is a diehard New Orleans Saints fan, and he's been talking a lot of trash to me this week. I wish it had bigger implications beyond the draft. It would have been even more, sexier as we're trading trash talk. But I think one of the most pressing questions for Jet fans that involve the Saints. Do the Saints believe they have a franchise quarterback in Tyler Shough? And the real question we're asking is, the Saints aren't going to take a quarterback in the first round, right?
Yeah, no, I don't see that being in the cards here. Or picking a QB early. Everything I hear is that this is a 1, maybe 2 QB draft, depending on what Dante Moore decides to do up in Oregon. And I don't anticipate the Saints being in the mix for a quarterback there in round 1. They're very happy with what Tyler Shough has done since they named him the starter a little over a month ago. And he to his credit, he has made some strides, shown some good things. And I think they're going to give him a chance to really earn that label of being the franchise quarterback in New Orleans.
Wow. Just a curious question to follow up directly with what Boy Green said is, given your pick in the draft, what would you like the team to do? Are you looking for, a tank and then you trade down? Is there a player in mind, a high player like that you're looking to secure in the top 5? Like, what are your draft hopes for the Saints?
There were guys I've been looking at, and when they were, scheduled to pick 3, 4, 5 for the first, 10, 12 weeks of the season. And now they keep sliding back. And now we're at 7. So it's like, yeesh. It's much less certain who could be a target for them. But that's really what I keep coming back to is let's have a target. Let's get a target for our quarterback. Let's get him some help. Let's see which receivers are available. And there are some pretty big names in this draft. There's the big two with Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. Carnell Tate has been earning a lot of fans with the year he's had for the Buckeyes. A guy I've been told not to sleep on, not to overlook. He just declared this week is Mekhi Lemon out of USC. And he's on the smaller side compared to those other guys. He is still, a big-time playmaker for the Trojans. Had some very impressive contested catches for a guy his size. My cat loved her, obviously. She decided to join the show here. And yet he, the Saints really don't have a preference for size when it comes to receiver. They went into the season with 6 foot flat Chris Olave, 6 foot Rashid Shaheed, 5'10" Brandon Cooks as the wide receiver 3. And so as long as these guys can get open, they can run clean routes, they can make catches when they need to, they're not going to sweat that he's, 5'11" rather than 6'2". So Lemon is somebody I'm keeping an eye on. And as the Saints continue to win games, potentially winning a game this Sunday, move a bit further back. That's somebody I'm kind of thinking, okay, I need to do a little more homework on this guy. He might be an option for the Saints come April.
So, John, you've referenced it a few times. How important is winning to the Saints? Because they've won 2 in a row. They've won 3 of 5. They pulled out the broomskis. See you later, Carolina. You smack around Tampa Bay, you beat them, so you get some division wins, and both those teams are 7-7, so the record's impressive. The quality of win is impressive. How important is it to the Saints team? Kellen Moore, Tyler Shuck, who you mentioned, has taken over as the starter. How important are wins right now for the Saints, or are they not?
Oh, it's so important right now because it's really validating a lot of things that this new coaching staff has been preaching all year of this is what we need to do at practice. This is how we need to prepare. And even though they've been eliminated from the playoffs, it's still all about getting your locker room to buy into that message, building positive momentum, going into the offseason saying, hey, we're frisky. We have a quarterback. We have some young draft picks who are playing really well for us. And we're going to build on that. And yeah, look, as an analyst, as fans, I totally get wanting that higher pick, mostly because we don't have to wait so long on the first night of the draft to get it out of the way. But when you get into that room and you see like Tali Fuaga, who has been dealing with so many injuries this year with his back, with his knees, with his ankle, and him getting to enjoy a win, that's important. That's big for morale. That kind of helps him justify all of the work that he's been doing in the training room. Here's another cat who's all about this too. Let's get her out of the way. And so it's really important to those guys to have that validation and to see their work pay off because they don't care about a draft pick. They want a victory Monday. They want to win a game in front of their kids. Demario Davis is 36 years old. He wants to win football games. Cameron Jordan is 34. He wants to win games and help his Hall of Fame resume. Like, that's what's important to these guys. And it's really cool to see them, showing that resiliency whenever they lost most of the first half of the season and come around the bend and win some games and really build some positive momentum going into the future.
Well, you brought him up, so DeMario. This is one that absolutely breaks my heart because, for those who don't know the DeMario Davis journey, Jets draft this guy. They have DeMario. It's going as it goes. His contract expires. He goes over to Cleveland, and he's there. And then the Jets trade back for DeMario Davis. So, wait, I'm sorry. We should have never let you leave. Come on back in a rare player-for-player swap. Salute to the Louisville Slugger, Calvin Pryor, who for some strange reason the Browns wanted. We get DeMario Davis back. He has this crazy Pro Bowl year. We're like, yes, thank God. This is phenomenal. And then he leaves in free agency to the Saints. And ever since, he's been this superstar with the New Orleans Saints. So just tell us, how's our guy DeMario Davis doing? Have you guys been taking care of him? Because was one of my favorite Jets. And there's this weird thing about the Saints taking former Jets linebackers, Jonathan Vilma, my guy, Super Bowl champion, Demario Davis. When is this going to stop? Because enough is enough. I'm worried the next time we get a great linebacker, the Saints are like lurking outside of our house.
Yeah, man. Hey, let's see what happens with C.J. Mosley in a few months. But no, Demario has been phenomenal. Huge leadership guy. One of the most visible examples of that. He took over from Drew Brees, leading this pregame huddle chant. Rally the troops every Sunday. And he took over that from Drew whenever they were teammates for a couple years there at the end, and he's kept it going. And yeah, look, every team does that in the tunnel or in the end zone or whatever every week. But knowing who that is and it being consistent, that means a lot. And he has been a huge presence in the locker room. He's been nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. This year, couple of years, just a huge presence, and he's still playing really good football. I mean, he's the oldest linebacker in the NFL. Not the oldest starter, not the oldest. Middle linebacker, whatever. He's really doing it by himself, a lot like London Fletcher did for Washington all those years. Just kept going and going and going, and we're all kind of waiting around like, man, is this the year where Father Time ends up winning that battle? And it hasn't happened yet, and it's so impressive to see. You just wish that this last leg of his career had more winning to, like I said earlier, validate all of that work he puts in. He invests over $1 million a year in his body, with recovery during the week, with preventive measures during the off season. Like he is a pro's pro. The Saints are very lucky to have him. I would like to thank the Jets for preparing him for coming to New Orleans and just having such a strong finish to his career.
Well, you're welcome, I guess. Yes, I mean the defense looks like you guys have been rolling a little bit. Just seeing here, top 6 in passing yards allowed, and I damn near fell out of my chair when I saw who was calling the plays for the Saints. A guy who, I can't lie, I've said quite a few jokes about with his head coach run. He made quite a few mistakes. But tell us, how has the Brandon Staley experience been in New Orleans? Like you said, a new coaching staff, so everybody's getting acclimated. But that defense specifically, especially since the leaders coming into the season were all on the defensive side.
Yeah, for sure. Brandon Staley deserves a ton of flowers for what he's done. I've been talking to some people that they would argue what he's done with the Saints this year is more impressive than what he did with the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl all those years ago. Just because the personnel is so different. He doesn't have Aaron Donald to build around. He doesn't have Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, and no disrespect to Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. I think they would both agree that they are not prime Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, and neither are the guys surrounding them. But Staley has got that unit playing really well, got them playing at a very high level. Run defense, you look at it, they're 26th in rushing yards, but situationally, they're very effective in the red zone on short yardage situations. A couple of weeks ago, they stopped the Bucs like 5-6 times in a row at the goal line. Playing very disciplined football, and getting penalized, but what they're not doing is missing a lot of tackles. They're not blowing up their assignments. They're hanging tight in coverage, and they've really been carrying the team until these past few weeks where the offense has started clicking now that Shuck has gotten some experience. So Staley deserves a ton of credit. I don't know that he's going to be one of those like retread head coach candidates given how things went in LA and all the resources he had to work with, and it just didn't work. But, spending last year with Kyle Shanahan on the Niners, just as a consultant and assistant, whatever his title was, I think that was really big for him, being back on the headset again, not having to worry about everything else that goes into preparing a team each week as the head coach. That's been big for him. And I think he's been a terrific resource for the Saints. And I'm really excited to see what they do to keep building on that, turning over personnel, and really tweaking that scheme. here in the off season.
Again, we're speaking with John Sigler, the architect of the Saints Wire, baby. Marching on in here on Boy Green Meets Wudi. Speaking of marching in, who the hell is going to be marching in at running back? Kamara up in the air? Devin Neal? Who's going to be playing running back for the New Orleans Saints this week?
Neither of those guys. They're both hurt. And it's not going to be Kendre Miller, who they drafted a couple of years ago out of TCU. He's also injured. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be Evan Hull and Aldrick Estime taking the lion's share of touches out of the backfield. I know the Saints just signed Nyheim Hines to the practice squad.
Sure.
He wasn't able to practice Wednesday, didn't get into town in time. He's practicing here on Thursday when they do the third down stuff. Friday they'll put the finishing touches, and then that's all he gets is 2 days of practice. So I'm not anticipating Nyheim Hines having a big role this Sunday, but it wouldn't shock me at all if he is active, if he is an option. Evan Hull really is the guy, though. He's been taking most of the snaps in the backfield as number 2 behind Devin Neal with AK hurt. And he's been playing well. Like the guy runs hard. He has good vision for how blocking is developing, where his lanes are. But one I'm really excited to see is Estime, who was drafted by the Broncos. Sean Payton, has a famously mercurial relationship with his running backs. He goes through them at a pretty high rate. And Estime, I thought, ran hard at Notre Dame, thought he was a big play threat. We kind of seen that here and there. He's only had 6 carries with the Saints, but he's averaging 5.5 yards or something. So, let's see what he can do, and see if he can, make a big gain here or there against the Jets defense.
Well, on that man, he probably will. I mean, the Jets cheese defense. He might eat that up. So I'll have to look at the FanDuel numbers and see what I can do there. But speaking about numbers, and not necessarily real numbers, but fantasy numbers. I have both Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave on my squad. Olave pretty much been starting every week, but Johnson, he wasn't even on my team until like week 11. Where I feel like he's been coming to life. What would you start both of those guys this week against the very terrible New York Jets? What are your thoughts about their fantasy season so far? Olave, he hasn't been great, but like the name, the target share, all that type of stuff, it was never in me to bench him. But with Johnson coming out late, how would you say in terms of starting them? If there's one you would start over the other, something like that.
Yeah, you're looking at a flex or something. I would go with Olave there, just mainly because Devon Vele is not going to play this week. He had a shoulder injury late in the game this past Sunday, and right after that happened, Olave caught like 3 passes for 50-something yards, just back to back. And so he's going to be the guy that Shuck is going to be looking for when he has to throw. I think the Saints are going to want to run in this game, really control that pace of play, dictate terms to the Jets. But when they have to pass, Olave is going to be the first read more often than not. That's who I would go with. And, Juwan Johnson is the most frustrating player to watch on the team. I said a couple weeks ago when the fan voting for the Pro Bowl started that, he's going to make it to the Pro Bowl games. I'm just going to turn into a shrieking white hot ball of rage at that. The dude drops passes. He gets penalized. He lines up in the wrong spot. This is like his 90th game with the Saints or something. And he's probably going to the Pro Bowl because he's already got 650 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He's won a lot of fantasy football games for people. They're voting for him. So he's not a bad option by any stretch. But in this situation with Vele being down, I would definitely lean Olave.
Which makes a lot of sense. I want to go to the other side of the ball real quick, back to the defense. And again, we talk about Demario Davis, and that has Jet connections, but there's another OG on that Saints side of the ball. I'm curious how much he has left in the tank. It's Cameron Jordan on the defensive line. He's a polarizing guy in his own right with some of his conversations with other people. And I've seen the Buccaneers troll him after certain Saints-Bucs games and extracurricular activity. What's sort of the sense on Cameron Jordan? Is he still playing at an elite level? How much gas is there in the tank?
Yeah, Cam has been playing really well down the stretch. Had a not great defensive line coach for a couple of years. That was a Todd Grantham, longtime college coach, got bounced back to the college ranks after Dennis Allen was fired at midseason. And Cam has benefited from that more than anybody else. I think he had like 4.5 sacks in 6 games at one point this year. He's really looked like himself again. And both he and Demario Davis, their contracts are up at the end of the season. So I'm really curious to see which, if it's one or the other or both, end up sticking around for and closing out their careers in black and gold. But Cam has been playing well, you couldn't be happier to see it after everything that he's gone through. I mean, you look at his career; he has gone through the highs and the lows of life in the NFL. I mean, the year they drafted him was when they went and had that, the all-time phenomenal playoff game in the divisional round with the 49ers, where they had like 6 lead changes in the second half. And that was his rookie year. And it has never gotten less exciting from that. I mean, he had to deal with the Bountygate year, and then he had the Rob Ryan defense. And then, we had that big resurgence after the 2017 draft, where we got Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Marshawn Lattimore, all of these great players. And he's really seen all of it. And now he's been stuck in this rut for a couple of years where it's like going out, getting beaten up every Sunday, losing games, not really getting any validation for it. And then now we're reaping the rewards. And now we're sweeping the Panthers. Now we're making the Bucs GM regretting using Twitter for the first time in 3 months. And so he's a guy who has really been thriving over the last month or so. And I really hope that continues down the stretch, because with him, he's one of those guys where, we're starting to ask, is this the last time we're going to get to see him wear a Saints uniform into the Superdome on a Sunday? Is this the end of the line for Cam Jordan? So it's been exciting to see him turn things around, and hopefully he can finish on a high note.
John, what's your prediction for Sunday? What's going to happen? Saints Jets, they meet on the field on Sunday. What happens?
Oh man, I think the Saints are going to control the game here. Just looking at team health, looking at the quarterback situations, I would love to say that, Tyler Shuck's going to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, and we're going to be doing the side by side with Shuck and Drew Brees, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to try and run. They're going to run like 40 times or something just to try and set the pace of play, dictate terms to the Jets. I'll take the Saints with say 21-10. How about that? Okay. This isn't going to be a 40 burger or anything like what happened to the Dolphins. It's going to be it's going to be lopsided, but not that lopsided, I think.
Well, that's good to hear, because the Jaguars nearly dropped a 50 burger on us last week. So if we could sort of head in a different direction, that'd be good. And I'll just finish off here by saying, again, I mentioned that my brother is a Saints fan. And while I am a Jets fan and we do Jets content, I'm an overall NFL fan. And the Saints Super Bowl team is one of my favorite Super Bowl teams of all time. The Hurricane Katrina that hit, obviously you guys down there in New Orleans, but like all of us in the world were thinking about that and everything. And I just, my social media handles on all my different places is BoyGreen25. And in high school, when I'm wearing it's funny that I'm wearing the shirt today. I didn't plan on telling this story, but when I tried out for the high school football team, and then, I was on the team, the coach said, you can have 2 jersey numbers. Like, it's your choice, whichever one, 80 or 25. And I'm like, Reggie Bush, baby, I'm taking 25. So I did it for Reggie. I love Reggie. He's one of my favorite players of all time. That's the whole reason I wore 25 in high school. And that's why it's my handle now, even to this day. So big salute to Reggie and that awesome Super Bowl team with the Saints. So I know that was it was a while ago, but it's still a team that I hold dear, and I'm sure it is for you Saints fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you saying that. That was a very special time. That really came up at the same time I was growing up and starting to pay more attention to football, and that's a heck of a draw. So we're very fortunate to have it. Hopefully, you guys with the Jets can have a similar season one of these years, and it's a special experience to be sure.
Well, I'll have to take your word for it because I wasn't alive the last time that they did that. But John, appreciate it. I wish the Jets and Saints played more often so we could have more of these conversations, but I cherish them all the same. So, John, on behalf of me and Wudi here, thank you so much.
Thanks again for having me on the show, guys. Hope you have a great day, and let's try and enjoy this game Sunday. Enjoy them while we have them before we go into the long winter in the off-season.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Good luck to the squad. And may the better team win. Should I say that? I don't know.
I hope they all have fun. How about that?
Okay. All right. Yes.
There you go. Well, everybody, we're streaming live on 5 different destinations. Make sure you like the video if you're on YouTube and show your support. And again, shout out to John. Check out all of his good work for the Saints Wire. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next.